Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. Yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show. Yeah.
Yo. Can you hear me?
Yo, loud and clear, man. How are you?
Very good. Dude, I fucking love this Yeti again. Let me record this bish. There you go. Beat you, Dragonate.
Actually, I was recording on my own computer, so I still beat you.
Dude, what's top of mind for you?
I don't know, man. It seems like it'd be hard not to like say something about like memecoin, like shitcoin frenzy going on out there. Like there's lots of like commentary about it and like horrible takes and like interesting takes. And it's probably top of mind for like a lot of people now. I'm sure there's like other shit going on out there, but my like feed is just like flooded with like memecoin garbage stuff. Not even like garbage, just like stuff. What's top of mind for you?
Yeah, that's been the thing that's taken over the headlines. I guess Blur had their announcement yesterday. I didn't really dig too deep into it. Like the idea of taking out a load.
Yeah. Let's talk about it, man. Yeah, don't even go that far because it's confusing as fuck. So that's cool. We can talk about it.
Cool. All right. Well, we're already rolling, so let's get right into it. What up, everyone? This is Matthew, aka Nifty Time, back with my dude Rizzle for another episode of the Matthew and Rizzle Show. Let's get right into it, dude. We were just talking about shitcoin trading, and like I guess Pepe is probably the shitcoin du jour that everyone's been talking about for the past week or so. And I know that's sort of like your wheelhouse from before you jumped into NFT lands. I always remember you talking about like shitcoin trading and all that. And I think I saw you tweet about all your like 2015, 2016 bags if anyone was interested or whatever. So, dude, give me the lay of the land. What's been happening there? Because that's something that's totally like not top of mind or something I like to focus on personally.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, I sort of, in a weird way, owe a lot to where I am today by just getting really good at shitcoin trading like really early on. And, it was able to get into crypto early enough where if you like, were in it and knew anything about what was going on, and hung in there long enough, you did all right and everything. But it's interesting, man. And we've like actually scratched on this, a little while ago on how we're starting to see like market patterns replicate themselves. And I don't, obviously none of this is like financial advice. And to be completely honest, man, I don't do a whole lot of shitcoin trading anymore. It was like something I did for a long time, but like, now I have kids that are older and I'm like a little bit more like risk averse, even though I'm like deep into NFTs and I'm not afraid to take a stab at a few things here and there, and would be lying if I said I didn't hold like a little bit of some things or whatever. But it's fascinating, man. Like, so I was there like during inception of like Dogecoin, and I might have like mentioned this to you before, and I literally remember seeing it play out in real time in Bitcoin Talk, which was like the dominant like crypto forum in the early days when this was happening. And it was exactly what you think it would be in the beginning. It was just like a bunch of people who were just like much wow to the moon, like, just making a total mockery out of all of the people who were like sort of serious about the tech and like interested in what was going on. And, there was Bitcoin at the time, and there was like Litecoin, and there was like a whole bunch of other altcoins that were, some taking more of like a serious stab at trying to do something interesting, crypto related, like, data storage. And, there's a lot of like interesting experiments going on back then. But Dogecoin was like the first like real meme coin that came out that I was like, dude, this is like so dumb. It's like the emptiest thing. It's like, unscalable. It's literally, set up in a way that the tokenomics make it seem like it's made to fail or whatever. and I watched it pass me by, man, and people just meme the shit into existence to this day, man. I don't know how long that's been out here, but it must be like pushing more towards a decade than 5 years or something like that now. And so it's, I'm seeing this like happen. It's almost like deja vu, man. Seeing it play out in real time. I'm like, dude, here we are again, and it's just Pepe coin specifically has just been like dominating the headlines and everything, and it's just so similar in the sense that like it's put out there with the intention of meaning nothing and just for people to pile on and meme it into success. And who knows, man? I like I said, I literally saw it happen before with Doge, and I they have since, I don't know, done something, to make their coin, like, I don't know, have some sort of use cases, I guess. I'm not like too up on that community, but here we are again, man. The market like moves in cycles, and it is shitcoin season. But I also feel like shitcoin season tends to be a precursor to the market starting to heat up and a little more things going on and everything. So I don't necessarily take it as a bad sign, man, even though like it's definitely rubbing some people the wrong way. I saw Jim with a tweet yesterday or something that was like, unfollow me if you bought Pepe or like whatever. But I don't know, man. I mean, are any of us like, what's that?
On the Jim point, I took his angry old man shakes the fist at the world tweet to be aimed more at like the influencers that are just like hopping over from shilling NFTs or whatever to Pepe again. That sort of behavior is what I thought he was criticizing more than like folks aping into like the new memecoin or whatever. And I think that's a valid point.
So wait, so Pepe, yeah. I'm saying you're saying that he is taking issue with Pepe specifically, not just meme coins specifically. Is that what you're saying?
No, so again, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but my takeaway from his tweet was not criticizing folks going in on meme coin, shit coins, Pepe or otherwise, but it was the folks that are actively promoting it now and like, hey, you don't have your Pepe bags packed. What the fuck are you doing? That like a week or two ago, we're still shilling like bullshit NFT collectible projects or something. That was my vibe from that, which is it's nuanced. It's not like saying don't do anything with Pepe. It's just like don't follow those fucking fake people that are now all of a sudden all in on Pepe. Which I don't know. It's nuanced, but I vibe with. I think that's more his take.
But I'm like, what's the difference, man? These people were pushing people from like garbage NFT projects to like now garbage tokens. I mean, it's like, telling the garbage pushers to stop pushing garbage now that you don't like the garbage that they're pushing. It's like, dude, it's garbage. All these same people were pushing trash this whole time. So I don't know, man. I mean, you see NFT projects survive and thrive on like the same principle. It's a lot of them are just memes. They're just the power of the meme. And so I don't know, man. Having seen this played out before and feeling like altcoins and like meme coins and everything were sort of like on the back burner or dead for a while. Like it's interesting to see this come back around. But dude, it's like playing with fire, man. These kind of things. And even when I was like day trading shit coins, I like pretty heavily, I made it a point to not chase the latest, hottest thing. I was like, studying charts and trying to make, reasonable investments based on like prior history and everything. And you always see stuff coming out and people like 500x after like getting in 3 days ago or whatever, and you're like, oh, maybe if I just chase this next thing, I'll be that person, next week or whatever. And that's how people get liquidated. And so it's a dangerous sport.
No, totally. And anyone that actively trades shitcoins, I immediately just think that they look like Charlie from It's Always Sunny on that like board with all the strings connecting everything, like trying to figure out and read the charts. It's like hilarious mental image. No, I mean, these are shitcoins without JPEGs, and like the meme of like NFT collectibles or PFP projects generally being like shitcoins with JPEGs. Like if you like one and not the other? Like what really is the difference, to your point? I agree there. And I mean, the barrier to entry to doing any of this is what? Like getting a wallet, getting some like crypto in it, and then like making a transaction, right? Like if you don't do it because of whatever principle or reason, whatever, that's good for you. But for people that are doing it, it's like it highlights the ease of doing anything in crypto relatively, right? And everything really is just like the speculative casino at the end of the day, if you really kind of like just try to think in general terms. So, I mean, you put something, you put a stack down on a table, boom, whatever. It goes to nothing, or you hit it big. That's kind of magical in a weird crypto native way. So to get mad at like the whole premise of the space being like opt in if you want to, or like if not, whatever, that's good too. Like why get mad there? Folks that are getting mad, it would be much better, like would help their argument if they were to create something and like an alternative, right? That folks could look at criticizing just to criticize in this space when you could like not easily, but within the realm of possibility, build an alternative. Like makes no fucking sense to me personally. But I do understand why people are like, man, we're really drawing even more attention to the casino side of the space as opposed to something else. I do feel that, but you got to build the alternative and also just have a more long-term picture. Meme coins come and go. We've seen the cycles over and over and over. It's hot today. Maybe in a few weeks it won't be again, only to re-emerge a little bit later. But like these are the natural cycles that have been here for like decade plus at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, sort of, yeah, I was like joking around and being like a, shitcoin historians being the thing and everything. And, in some respect, it is interesting to like sort of reflect back on like the market cycles because, first, second time around, it was still like a pretty new thing. There was like an altcoin boom, like very early on. And then like later on came like a shittier shitcoin season or whatever. But both of those were sort of like new cycles for their time. But this like really isn't. It's like, sort of a carbon copy of like stuff we've seen before, but it's also like a carbon copy of stuff we've seen before produced by people who have seen this stuff before as well. So you wonder like how, the lessons learned over time and people sort of, refining their shitcoin, meme coin approach like affects this. Does it just get pumped to the moon beyond like, a lot of the previous ones? Or is it like a setup for like a giant liquidation, like that we haven't seen before? I sort of, go into all of these like trading situations with these like unknown coins, knowing that like, whether there's some like legitimate tech stuff or whatever under the hood, a lot of them are set up to be pump and dumps. And that's just like the reality of the situation, whether intentional or not. That's the way the market travels.
Yeah. And for a look into like how the sausage is made, there's like a really interesting experiment that Rhett, aka Mankind, who's an artist, is running live. He is like collaborating with ChatGPT and was just like, yo, how can we make a really compelling like shitcoin meme coin take off? He paid like $69 or whatever to get it all started, I guess, including the cost of ChatGPT. And it has like $1 million market cap right now. I'll link it in the show notes. I think Brinkman also tweeted out about it and saying how fascinating it was to watch it and like see the prompts and see the outputs and actually see it take off and people ape into it. But it's wild to see how low the barrier is to create an actual shitcoin meme coin.
Oh yeah, dude. I remember like having this day of reckoning like early on when it was just like, holy shit, now that anyone can spin up an ERC20, like people can just start cranking these things out. There was actually like, some barrier to entry in terms of like, making a meme coin or an altcoin or whatever, like pretty early on. But once the ERC20s came out, it was like game on for meme coins and everything. But to Rhett's experiment, man, like to me, even though that's front and like transparently like an empty project in terms of like whatever, how it's built or whatever happens to it, you're sort of just like leaving caution to the wind. But it's also not, man. That's like a little bit sticky to me because I'm like, that's like interesting. I don't know if I want to like throw my life savings into it, but that's like interesting to me in like the same ways that like, a lot of the cool NFT projects that I'm a big fan of are interesting. I'm like, here's a guy like combining like two fairly interesting pieces of tech in a way that we haven't seen before, and might end up with a bunch of people getting rugged or whatever. But that's sort of like an interesting one to watch because I'm just sort of fascinated on like, do they all get rugged by like ChatGPT, or does like ChatGPT actually like somehow spin this into something successful? I'm a fan of like the AI experiments, man. So that one's like got like some interesting nuance behind, aside from like we just picked the most memeable thing we could find and named the 7th Pepe coin that and after it, and hoped that one didn't fail, and this one hit.
No, 100%. And it's a fascinating experiment to watch, and especially to see if anyone else like takes advantage of it in more nefarious ways. Like Rhett's doing it like transparently, like building in public, that whole thing. But I'm sure there's a bunch of people like, oh shit, it was that easy. Let me spin up like a meme coin generating farm using ChatGPT or something, like automating, creating scripts around like that same kind of framework. So that'll be interesting.
Oh yeah, dude. As soon as that popped up on my timeline, my wheels started spinning. I was like, oh shit, man, what a great idea that was. And again, whether or not it amounts to anything, I'm just like, what a cool like experiment to run just to sort of like see what happens. And immediately my wheels started spinning. I'm like, dude, I don't want to like spin out some sort of like junk coin or whatever, but I do like continuing to see like the progression of AI and how people are like using it in different ways, like play out in real time. And honestly, man, that's like one of the most exciting things going on right now. I feel like, like Grizzlefest is a good example, man. Gone for like 3, 4, 5 days or whatever, come back and there's like a whole host of new tools out there to tinker around with. And the ones that I was before have improved. And, the scope in which things are accelerating is crazy and cool to see unfold in real time. And dude, I wouldn't doubt at all if that's like the next iteration, or maybe that's what ChatGPT recommends Rhett to do with his shitcoin or whatever. I don't know, man. But it's cool to see play out. I don't know how it doesn't end up being totally dystopian and like really weird.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to get burned. Some people are going to make it big. I don't know what happens after this, if there's like the equivalent of like DeFi summer that's somehow like merged in here, some yield farming shenanigans, people make even more money, people lose even more money, and then something happens where people can actually like deploy those funds into like a consumer level thing, whether that be like NFT related or like the next NFT version or whatever. It'll be interesting to see if like the larger trends that have happened in the past kind of replicate themselves in a familiar way. But outside of that, like on the casino front, Blur launched their Blend, their peer-to-peer perpetual lending protocol, which has generated some interesting takes. I know like Mocha was like, yo, shout out Blur, literally doing the most they possibly can to turn the space into an unregulated casino. And then Brinkman had a tweet to the effect saying that Blur's just like set up the pawn shop in the middle of the casino with Blend, which I thought was kind of hilarious. Did you have a chance to look into that or hear any of the hot takes on what Blur is doing on the lending side?
Dude, I was like salty at Blur like early on for like geo restricting my airdrop or some shit. I forget exactly like what happened or whatever. So I don't use Blur a whole lot, and I don't honestly use a lot of the marketplaces very much anymore. Most of the stuff I've been purchasing is like pretty direct from Mint or whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't like have a ton of thoughts on Blur other than it's like confusing as fuck, man. And I think like, maybe what they're doing is cool. Maybe what they're doing is good for the space, but like the barrier to entry in order to understand how to like really use what they're offering in like an advantageous way is like some shit I don't like really have the time or desire to dive into. And it feels more like when it feels more like day trading, which I guess is what they're going for and everything. But, there's a lot of like nuances with that I never really dove into, despite like getting pretty deep into day trading. I was more, looking at the chart and executing direct trades. And I don't do a lot of like lending or leveraging or like, short calls or like any of this shit. And that's sort of like the feel that I get from Blur, is that they're sort of like, incorporating a lot of those things into the NFT space. Which I don't think is necessarily bad, but it definitely does like put it into the, casino, day trading, gambling category more than like, caring about what you're acquiring or selling or whatever. It just becomes like all about the numbers at that point. Which again, man, I feel like, we've mentioned this before, man. I think it was like Pokemon that came up, it's like a, not directly comparable to Blur, but comparable to like a product that has investors and fans and collectors. And I think the NFT space in general needs that too. And so if this is how to attract the people who want to read charts and leverage trade and like all this shit with NFTs, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it also feels like the whole space is like moving towards that direction rather than like embracing the other side of the coin that the space needs to thrive as well.
Yeah, like my hot take is that this is just, it's very circle jerky. It's aimed and oriented at like NFT degens, like NFT natives, right? Not doing anything in a way that, at least from what I can tell, will ever attract any outsiders. Like the idea of equating like buying a higher priced NFT in the same way as like buying a higher priced house. Yeah, like you don't pay the full amount for the house. You take out a loan for it. You get a mortgage. You can do the same thing now with NFTs. I think is like really disingenuous, and people are like, "What the fuck are you even talking about? It's a monkey JPEG. What?" Like, like it just starts off on the wrong foot right away. And then you get into like, what are the terms of like these loans that people are taking out? Like, when can people call the loan back, so that people need to either pay it or get liquidated and lose whatever they have? Like, it just doesn't seem, it's not what I would think about first when building in this space, because always like my focus is trying to bring more people that aren't here today into the space, and this is not it. But I guess it is kind of interesting to like buy a Milady for like 0.3 ETH instead of like 3 ETH or whatever the floor price of that project is at, right? If people want to accumulate more, and instead of having to sell off their punk to get liquidity to buy the next whatever, they can keep the punk, put a little bit down, and get that exposure to the next new thing if their heart so desires it. I guess from that perspective, it's kind of an interesting innovation. Only time will tell, right? How this plays out. But just initially, it's just like, man, like this now, like this is the big announcement. Like, damn, we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for something that really brings in more new blood, I guess.
Yeah, man, it seems like loan liquidation roulette, like basically, like there's everyone can't win on this, right? Unless they just keep like paying out in their shitcoin or whatever, and somehow make that sustainable. So, I don't know, man, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like, I sort of play it pretty straightforward and simple when I, am interacting with stuff in the market, because like some of these things that just, sound too good to be true, a lot of times end up being too good to be true. And if you don't, like you said, aren't like on the inner of the degen circle and know how to like finally work the market, you're setting yourself up to be exit liquidity. Dude, one of the things I was thinking as you were talking before, though, man, when we were talking about like the AI, or sort of leaning on the AI for guidance and stuff, and I was like thinking about this like earlier today. I wonder if that model in general will prove to be trusted, not necessarily based on this like specific experiment, but I can think of like a lot of projects that if the project was very transparent that we're going to listen to the direction of the AI and lean on them for options and ideas and everything. I'm like, dude, I trust the AI a lot more than some of these sketchy motherfuckers like running these projects and everything. And I wonder if like, we see enough experiments, if that always almost becomes like a way of putting your trust or building trust with the community by sort of like outsourcing some of the responsibilities or some of the decision making, be like, hey, we're gonna, I guess not decentralize it. And of course you like run into these situations where like, the AI is stigmatized or, slanted in one direction or whatever, who knows how it plays out. But it would be interesting to see if that becomes some sort of like, unofficial trust protocol where, that actually helps your engagement with the community by leaning on the AI for certain things.
I mean, I think if you zoom out, people have been doing this sort of building in public for a while, and sharing like how one does what they do is something that you've seen, especially in like the digital artist community. I was just chatting with Jisoo artist yesterday, and like when she was in high school, she was talking about like she was on DeviantArt, and the artists that she was following, they were talking about the whole process of like making art, marketing art, selling art, doing physicals and prints and things like this. And because she was able to like learn from that, like building in public, like outsourcing, like what one does to do the thing, she just started copying it in her practice, like as a high school student, and put together some physical prints that ended up netting her like hundreds of thousands of dollars one summer, just because she not only had access to tools, but was able to learn the process from the people that were doing the thing before her. I think AI is very similar in this sort of like building in public, sharing prompts that one used to do whatever one is doing. Other people want to see that, and they're going to implement that themselves, and hopefully share like their tweaks, their iterations on like the prompt engineering and things like that. The more we do that, I think the more we'll be able to help assuage a lot of the fear that is building up currently around AI in particular, right? I mean, there's a ton of that in this space. There's a lot of people that are very fearful of what's coming. I don't know if is it like whole countries that are trying to ban AI in some shape, way, or fashion. I'm not sure what headline is like I'm faintly recollecting right now, but there's a huge anti-AI push from a lot of spaces and faces. And the more that we can kind of like show the raw potential in terms of like an aid or a complement to human actions, I think the more people like, oh, okay, this is what it can do at this point. This is how I can use it and take advantage of it for good things, right? And then hopefully in tandem with that, like if there's negative effects or externalities that arise from this, like people will be able to like figure that out and see it more, and they'll realize that, okay, that's the bad part of this, but it's not the whole, it's not the everything of AI. So we can deal with the negative parts as they arise, and then keep the good stuff, and hopefully open that up and make it more apparent to regular folks, so that there's not this cloud of fear that's surrounding the whole of AI.
Yeah. Again, man, talking about cycles, this is very reminiscent of just people's attitudes towards crypto, like early on, just like a lot of fear mongering, a lot of like, oh my God, this is going to open like all these evil doors and like all this stuff. And not saying that crypto didn't in some ways, or not say that AI won't in some ways, but it also feels like cat's out of the bag and this shit is in the wild, and good luck, you like putting it back in the bag. And again, man, felt like this early on in crypto. I'm like, dude, part of me almost hopes like it continues to get fudded for a while, because I'm like, this is our advantage to sort of get out in front and like learn and build and understand the tools, while everyone's sort of shitting a brick about like, AI is going to kill us all or like whatever. But if it doesn't, man, I want to be one of the people who know, how to use this stuff, because just like crypto, man, I feel like this is going to become like an inescapable part of, our lives and our kids' lives in the not too distant future. And so, while everyone's, feeling skeptical or, hating on it or whatever, there's like so many fascinating things that you can do. And just, having some concept of that puts you, 10 steps ahead of 95% of the population out there.
Exactly. I mean, it's more beneficial and helpful generally when new quote unquote like big things like this pop up on like a large scale all at once to go kick the tires yourself. Like there's no barrier preventing regular people from kicking these tires at this point. Like crypto, again, internet connection can go do it. A chat GPT, as long as I guess in your country you can sign up for it, like you can kick all the tires that you want, right? And if you're not kicking those tires and instead like racing to a prejudged conclusion, like fuck you. Like you suck. Like you're the problem. You're not helping with any kind of answer at that point, which unfortunately is just like a part of human nature that I guess we're always combating, right? I don't know if there's like a tendency towards laziness or just prejudging or whatever, but fighting that as much as we can just opens up and helps unlock usually more good than bad, at least in our lived experiences. That appears to be the case. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of like more of like a doomy episode, but before we get into talking about the whip and like what we have going on Thursday, like any free mints or any like cool shit in the space we want to like drive attention towards real quick.
Well, I know we're going to give out some more whitelist spots to the Polygonal Minds Crypto Avatars new drop that's coming out, I think towards the end of the month or so at the whip this week. On top of, all the other things going on, Fabiano and Patrizia giveaway, we got a little activity queued up, but like the big story is the panel that we're having, the State of the Open Metaverse with Jin and Ahad from Webiverse, CK Bubbles, Justin from Monaverse. Four big hitters who have been around and know their shit and, have, some interesting takes on like interoperability and, have sort of been there and done a lot of things. So excited to get them all on stage together and, pick their brains and hear what they have to say. I'm sure the audience will have questions too, but I don't know. We've had a lot of like dope guests and like big whips lately, but this one's been in the works for like a little while, and it's cool to have all these people in the same set up together talking about open metaverse.
Yeah, really excited for Thursday's whip, State of the Metaverse. Another like free mint that just I've been working on a little bit. Starting this Thursday through Sunday, Trevor Jones has a free mint claim open to anyone over on niftygateway.com. It's kind of a random one, but it's tied in with the coronation over in the UK. So any of the royalists in the audience, you can go mint your NFT, or anyone can, and it's free to claim for 4 days. So it's probably going to mint a ton, but it is tied into like a limited edition follow-up release on May 14th. That's a Sunday. That folks will be able to enter and get a much more limited edition work from Trevor Jones. So very dope artist doing a cool thing, experimenting, trying to onboard more people. Applaud the effort there. Hopefully we get some massive number of folks that claim this free mint. And then hopefully some of those new people get and win one of those editions the following week, and again see the power of like, wow, I'm able to collect this like digital artifact, and wow, there's demand for this, and oh my goodness, like I have this internet money now that I can do whatever with. Hopefully they don't throw it into the memecoin casino that's emerging, or maybe they do, maybe make crazy bank. But yeah, fun little thing on Nifty Gateway folks can look out for this week.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know me, man. I love free shit. And to that point, man, I was just saying this the other day. It's like, it's one of these things, man, where you hang out here long enough and somehow like free stuff seems to manage to make your way over to you. And so full disclosure, man, I actually own a little bit of Pepe, not because I bought into it or whatever, but I did a charity elephant project for untamed elephants, and then wanted to support the project. So I like bought a couple of the NFTs that I made, and a couple of the ones for other people, because, a bunch of the proceeds go to helping elephants. And then like just by holding one of these NFTs, I was like randomly entered into some raffle, and then like won a little bag of Pepe in it. And it was
sent to airdrop the bag of Pepe to your address that holds the NFT, right?
Yeah. So it was just like sent to me. I didn't even know it was happening. It was actually happened like while we were at Rizzlefest and everything. And I was like, but it's like one of those things like, periodically stuff like that just seems to happen. And so I got lucky, man. I'm not going to, become the next Pepe billionaire off of this, but it is kind of fun to just like be on the little ride and see what happens. And if it goes to zero, it's no harm, no foul, because it's like I'm playing with house money at this point. But that is like sort of the interesting and fun part of the space, man. If you like interact with enough people and enough projects and you stick around long enough, everyone's got your address and it gets like rolled into different things and different opportunities come up. And it is one of like the exciting things of just, being around here for a long time is, everyone's got that address. Everyone, knows where you're at and you can get involved in all these different things. And every now and again, free shit coins just like land in your wallet or some more junk than not usually lands in my wallet, to be completely honest with you. So to have a little win was kind of nice. Yeah, dude, there was something else I wanted to touch on before we cut it off here. Something about the AI that was not like super dystopian. But it's like escaping me at the moment. Anyway, man, it'll be interesting to see like how all these things shake out and everything. Yeah, dude, got the whip this week. It should be a banger. Next week, the next like month or so, we've got whip scheduled. Should be like all really dope ones. Got a cool location for this week queued up that was actually sent to me by Ballistic Banana, the Crypto Voxels like OG wearable parcel in HyperFi, which like fits the open metaverse theme very, very well. So that'll be, I don't know if you've hopped in there, man, but it's like a fun one to explore because none of the, or at least not that I noticed, the wearables are like tagged to creators or anything. But it's like a treasure trove of like stuff that you would recognize and we've given out at the whip and we've seen people wearing and everything. It's pretty cool.
I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be a fun one. A great way to round out the week with, or week on, as always. Awesome, dude. We'll leave it here and then I'll catch you in the metaverse on Thursday then.
Sounds good, man. Have a good week.
Peace.